What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to One Dream Fishing. We are in the boat barn here at Dallas Baptist University, and today we are going to be talking about bed fishing. Bed fishing season is upon us, so today we're going to break it down for y'all. We're going to talk about where to find bedding bass and our top 2 favorite baits. Let's get right into it.
Alright guys, so starting out, I've loved bed fishing. That is my favorite time of year. And the biggest thing for me when I'm looking for a bed fishing bait is something white. So starting off is going to be the Gary Yamamoto. It's just a regular Senko. And the whole point of this is, like I said, being white. And the point behind that is when this is sitting on a bed, you can see it. There's not a whole lot of things that are white in the water, and it's vibrant to be looking at the front deck on your boat and you can see it. And the way I'll usually fish this is I'll either have it on a weighted Texas rig where it will stand like that in the water, or I'll have it just weightless to where it kind of shimmies down like a Senko would fish, and it just imitates something trying to get on that fish's bed, and that triggers their instinct of protecting that. So that's really what I do for the Senko. Now the other bait that I was mentioning is the Rage Tail. This is the Menace. So sometimes, usually when I start out on a bed, I'm going to start out with a Senko. That's usually the telltale sign if that fish is locked or that fish is aggressive. Now sometimes when they're circling around a bed, and that necessarily means they aren't locked, or they'll maybe go away for a minute and then come back, sometimes you need a little bit more action. So I'll take this, put it on a weighted Texas rig, dives down there, and then the tails flutter when it goes down. So it's just giving a little bit more action, and I think it gives almost a crawfish kind of look. So you're getting a different kind of animal that's getting onto that bed and trying to do something to the bed, so it triggers that instinct. Let's get into Reese. Alright, let's get into what Reese is going to be throwing for his top 2 bed baits.
Alright guys, so now time for my baits. So if y'all didn't know, I'm from East Texas, and so our lakes aren't known to be clear, and so we have dirty water, and so I don't get to really sight fish for bedfish. The way I do it is I go blind casting for bedfish, and so a big bait for me is a 6-inch black and blue Senko. And so in the springtime around me, the water usually gets pretty muddy from just the frequent rains that come in and out of these creeks, and so a black and blue Senko always works because it's just going to fall, and it's got that black color, so it stands out in that muddy water, and so it's going to fall right on those beds. You just got to fish it really slow in that 65 degree water, and so they're going to come up, eat this, and so I'm not necessarily going to see them eat it, but I'm going to feel them eat it, and I'm going to be catching them in the areas where they are going to be bedding. I just can't see them. So the next bait that I'm going to use, most people don't really think about a spinner bait on beds. It's because, like I said earlier, I can't see them. So I'm going to be throwing a white spinner bait. It's got an Indiana blade and then a orange Colorado blade, and this is a little secret of mine. I love this in that muddy water. It gives off a lot of vibration. It helps those fish come and see it, and so they're going to be drawn off the bed, or it's going to be running right over their heads on the bed, and they're just going to be in such an aggressive mood protecting those eggs that are on there, and they're going to come up and smash this. And so this is a good way, if you can't see them and you're going to be running in and out of those coves, you're going to be able to slow roll this, but you're going to also be able to cover a lot of water. And so that's a big part of fishing in the spring. So you're going to be covering a lot of water and finding those fish that are moved into those coves. Alright, so now on to Mark's baits.
Gotcha. Alright guys, so I'm going to start off with this big swim bait here. It's made by Imagatsu, and it is called the Gilroyd. So the reason I like this for beds are because each bedfish is going to be different. They're all going to react differently. So some bedfish are going to want smaller presentations, and then other bedfish are going to want big presentations like this swim bait here. And so this is a really cool design that Ima made. So they put these kind of lime green streaks on the nose and on the tail. And what that's for is for whenever this bait's going across the bed, you can actually see this disappear, and that's how you're going to know that the bass has either sucked it in or bit it. So the reason that the bluegill works so well is because bluegills are known for eating the eggs on the bass's bed. So that's what the buck bass's job is to do, is to protect those eggs. And so if a lot of times you can catch the buck bass and then you can throw them in your live well for a minute, and then the female will roll back up and she knows she's got to protect her eggs. So this big swim bait is just such a great bait to target those bigger bass on the beds, and you know, the more aggressive bass that want a bigger presentation. All right, moving on. Like Reese said, we are from East Texas, so the lakes there are pretty muddy, so we haven't done a whole lot of sight bed fishing. So, but I have gone to Lake Welsh. For those of you who don't know, it's a power plant lake in East Texas, and it is filled with hydrilla and grass, so the water is clear, and the water stays around 70 degrees all year. So I've actually caught a lot of bedding fish on Lake Welsh on this frog here. So I don't know what this frog does that pisses him off so bad, but whenever I'm bed fishing on Welsh, and you can see the beds, it goes down 5-6 foot of visibility. So whenever I'm see a bed, a lot of times there will be a huge patch of hydrilla out in front of their beds, and then they'll be up by the bank, so you can see them cruising around and stuff. And whenever I've thrown this frog over the bed, usually just popping it twice right over their bed and just letting it pause, and them just seeing that shadow of that frog over their bed just entices them to come up and just destroy this frog. And it's a really fun way to catch bedding fish. So.
All right, guys, so you heard each of our 2 favorite baits that we use, and so now we're going to look at what we look for while we're out fishing this time of year. All right, so the first thing fish like to look for is shallow water with harder banks this time of year. And so as the weather changes, we get them cold fronts. Usually the cold front comes from the north wind. And so if you look at your map, there's a part up here that says heads up. And so as you're running down the lake, you always want it to be heads up, so you're not just turning around, and you don't always, like, you want to be knowing where you're going. But when you're looking for spots this time of year, you want to go and turn it to north up. And so it didn't really change anything right now because we're just sitting here, but it's going to keep the lake facing the north as always. And so you can see that this lake runs north to south for the most part. And so we're going to be looking for north facing coves, because these are going to be out of the north, that cold north wind. And so that water in these coves are going to be a lot warmer than say a south facing cove that's just going to be getting smoked by all that cold wind. So right here we have a shallow north facing cut. It's real skinny and narrow, so it's not going to be all the wind that comes through. It's going to be blocked for the most part. And so it's shallow. You can see it's like 12 foot at the mouth. In the back there's shallow pockets. There's little shallow flats in the back. So these fish are going to roll up and sit on these shallow spots, and they're going to find an area where they're comfortable. They don't have anything that's going to bother them, so they're going to build their bed right there, and that's where we're going to go and throw these baits that we picked out on. Also, in most lakes, the north end of the lake is going to be shallower, and so you'll see in this lake, the north end of this lake is so much shallower than it is down here by the dam. And down here by the dam, it's about 40 feet, and up north, the max depth is like 15 foot. And so that water is going to be muddier, and that muddy water warms up a lot quicker. And so the fish up north in the lake are going to spawn quicker. And so if you're looking to go find bedfish as soon as possible in the year, you're going to go look up in the north end for the most part. And so that's where we'll go look. And then later on in the spring, they're going to be moving back into the coves down in the south end of the lake. So just a recap of what we just talked about. Look for north-facing coves that are going to be out of that cold wind. The north end of the lake is going to spawn way sooner than the south end, and so you're just going to have to play around while you're on the water and look for those fish as they're moving up during each time of the spring time of year.
Alright guys, so y'all just seen our top 2 baits from all 3 of us, and kind of how we break down a lake to look for spawning fish. Hopefully these tips helped you out. You know, it's a very challenging time of year. You have fish that are still in pre-spawn, you have fish going into spawn, and you have fish going into the post-spawn. It's just a really different area of the country. You're going to see a different thing, and hopefully we helped you out. But if you want to see any more kind of technique specific stuff, leave it in the comments.
So throughout the spawning season here, we're going to try to get some underwater footage for you guys, and make sure y'all go subscribe to our channel if y'all like these videos and want to see more content like this.
Also, if you haven't seen our podcast, we make one each week. We put one out, and it's on Apple Podcasts. You can listen in the truck, as you run, do whatever. But as always,
thanks for watching.
God bless.
We'll see you on the next one.